Now, I haven't played Wuthering Waves since the 1.0 launch, and so I had some catching up to do. Technically, I could have skipped through everything and just started at the Rinascita arc. Rinascita is the new region, but I wanted to give 2.0 a chance, so I was willing to go through Mount Firmament and Black Shore storylines, which I believe were like 1.2 and 1.3 updates. I've also been playing a lot of Genshin Impacts in the past several months, more than I anticipated, as I'm finally at Natlin right now in the storyline, so I am very enveloped into this genre at the moment. And to put it plainly, I think 2.0 Wuthering Waves is really good. It's much better than what I expected it to be, and honestly, it's starting to become my favorite gacha game at the moment. When I played Wuthering Waves when it first came out last year, my main complaints were the storytelling, character designs, and the fact they didn't lean heavily into the strengths enough. The combat and exploration were surprisingly enjoyable, and I wanted more of that because that part of the game was what I found really enjoyable. And so present day, which is a year after its initial release, at the time of this video, it should be like phase 2 of the anniversary banners about to go into the Cartethyia banner. It's time to do a reassessment of the current state of the game, as my opinion has changed drastically. Right off the gates, the world looks amazing. Even the new areas added before the 2.0 update, Mount Firmament and the Black Shores, are really visually cool. I thought the area of the mainland of Huanglong was fine, but these areas are really cool. Then the actual 2.0 region, Rinascita, wow, mind-blowing. Raguna is amazing, Thessalia Fells is amazing, and the highlight so far, Avenalium, is really cool. I love these areas so much that I actually 100%ed each area in Rinascita so far. The world quests are easy to get to and not too grindy to complete, especially compared to other gacha games like Genshin, for example. It doesn't feel like it's trying to waste your time, which is something I actually appreciated a lot. All the new characters are really good and really well made, and were much improved from the launch experience. The character designs are a lot more appealing, and the feel of playing each character is much more distinct and very fun. I liked the overall combat before, but these new characters, I don't know, it feels like they're kind of ripped from like a frantic fighting game. Doing combos individually with these new characters like Chongli, Carlotta, Zanny are really fun. That along with more interesting intros and outro skills, like skills when you swap characters mid-combat, even mid-combo, it was very fun and very fluid. My favorite comp so far is Jinshi, Phoebe, and Shorekeeper, and just doing like crazy spectro damage with crazy intro-outro skills. It's really cool. Not only that these characters are visually appealing in terms of character model and combat presentation, but now they have normal names, thank god. No more Yang Yang, Qingxi, Taochi or whatever. We got normal names like Brance, Rochia, Carlotta, Cantarella, Siakona. Sure, they can do like more of the names that people need to like look up how to pronounce them in future updates, but it's nice to see that after the complaints of these characters from the 1.0 launch, that they almost did a full revamp in how they're going to make these new characters. No offense to the voice actors that were present at launch, which, if my memory serves me right, the bad voice acting wasn't entirely their fault. It was because of like the direction the devs wanted with their voices, something I forgot. But anyways, they've upgraded the quality of the voice actors. I mean, you got Jennifer English, the VA for Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, and Mael from Clair Obscure Expedition 33 to voice Carlotta. Their performance is just a lot better from what I remembered from launch, and I'm just speaking for myself, but I think these new characters are much better than Genshin's recent characters. Carlotta, Cantarella, Brant, Zanny, and Cartethyia are all better than Genshin's Natlin cast so far. Like, Cartethyia Fleurdelys versus Skirk? Kind of a no-brainer. Like I said before, grinding for echoes is much easier than farming for something like relics or artifacts. Getting echoes is not tied to some arbitrary daily energy cost. Even the boss echoes are farmable. Sure, the boss ascension materials are time-locked, but you can keep fighting it for the echo. And normal materials that you would need for weapons, leveling up, or any of that are easy to get, and they give you plenty of each of the specific activity node that you do. They're easy to clear, and you can get plenty of them. Wuthering Waves has the same mechanic as it is in Star Rail, to where like when your energy is capped, you can keep the overflow energy, but you gain them at a slower pace. Essentially, it doesn't punish people who don't log in every day, and to make sure that they use up all their daily energy. You can take breaks from the game, and even week-long or a month, and you can come back to having a surplus of energy to use. I'm surprised that Genshin doesn't have this feature yet, because this feature makes the game very approachable, especially when having long breaks, and it doesn't feel like a chore, and you're forced to playing like the waiting game of your energy needing to be recharged before you can do anything. Wuthering Waves vastly improved the story aspect for whatever disaster they did at launch. I'm not too sure if they made any changes to the launch content. I'm going to assume no, but I can assure you, for those that never played Wuthering Waves before, this is one of those rare and real occasions that, at least in terms of storytelling, it gets much, much better later. Assuming you're going through the content order, I believe you can skip to the 2.0 content at any time, and I won't blame you or criticize you if you do. But I would say the story content, and especially the way that they tell the story, gets better when you enter Mount Firmament. And honestly, I think the best arc so far in my opinions is the Black Shores arc, which is right after Mount Firmament, and it is very, very good. The setting of Black Shores, the characters that hail from there are all very interesting, even if you got some crazy girls over there. But the way it tells its story and the content of the story and how it's able to mix both actual gameplay and the story beats is really good, and it actually made me cry towards the end of that arc. Then once you arrive at Rinascita, it's just absolute cinema everywhere you go. The story was easy to follow along, they don't do massive exposition dumps, then they expect you to know everything. No long drawn out cutscenes or stories of any kind. I never found myself bogged down in a multitude of dialogues. Pretty much almost every problem they had at launch in terms of storytelling was basically fixed. And if you still had a problem with the storytelling or even the content of the story, there is a skip button. In fact, I'm almost confident that you can skip any sort of dialogue in the game if you wanted to. Sometimes they'll have a quick summary text of what happens when you skip, but if you don't care and want to get to the gameplay, the game accepts that and doesn't waste your time with the story if it doesn't interest you, which is great for me. I lock in on the main story quests and I read through everything, I listen through all the dialogue, but side quests, they're too boring, so thankfully I can just skip through all of that. Now I just wish something like this was in Genshin. My only complaint really, that still persists from launch, is that on most sections of the main story, you have to use trial characters, meaning it's a very guided experience since you're not really using your own character. I think that makes sense if you don't own the character. For example, if the story requires Carlotta, then you should be able to use a trial version of her for the quest. But the story doesn't really allow you to use your own character even if you own them. I hope they followed Star Rail's examples to where certain parts of the story, they make you create your team lineup and there is a character requirement for, let's say, Hyacine. You can either use your own Hyacine if you own her, or you can add the trial version if you don't have her, or maybe your own Hyacine isn't properly leveled. That way the battles in the main quest line still feel like it's an outcome that is a direct result of your own hard work rather than the game just giving you a freebie, so to speak. The combat was fun before and it's even more fun now. Cooler and stronger bosses to fight, lots of challenging content to complete, whether it's from the Tower of Adversity, Somnor, or even the tactical challenges scattered around the world. This was never a complaint I had, and I hoped that they leaned more into this as I thought this was one of their strengths at launch, and I'm honestly a bit surprised that they did. It's kind of funny that after playing a session of Wuthering Waves doing intro skills, outro skills, actively dodging, building up stagger, and counterattacking and all that, it felt weird doing my dailies in Genshin, not being able to do any of those things and not having the same amount of freedom in combat as I did in Wuthering Waves. Obviously, combat in both games are rewarded in two different ways, but I think I'd much rather prefer Wuthering Waves than Genshin. Maybe because Genshin is like 5 years old at this point, so maybe it's just not a new thing anymore, I don't know. In my review for Wuthering Waves launch, I said that even though I liked its combat and exploration, it wasn't enough to really think that it would make me feel invested enough and that I'd be more interested in Genshin Impact than Wuthering Waves in the long term. Now, Wuthering Waves in its current state, with its much needed fixes to the story content, the way it told the story, the improved experience and enjoyment with each character, whether it's like their visual presentation, their combat combos, and any of like the smaller stuff like voice acting, is much, much better. The world was already good before, now the areas and zones are just spectacular. It feels magical and cool, almost to the level of Elden Ring, dare I say. The game doesn't try to waste your time. You can skip through some of the dialogue if it's not your cup of tea. You get a decent amount of material so you can level up in your characters faster so you can get back to getting through the meaningful content that you might enjoy. Whether that's challenging endgame content, the main story, exploration, echo collecting, or whatever. You're never bogged down or forced into something you don't want to do. And for a gacha game that are designed to waste your time, I think that's really good. And so as of right now, I much prefer Wuthering Waves over Genshin Impact. I find myself more excited to play through the content of Wuthering Waves over its competitor, and I feel more inclined to show off what the game has to offer to other people. And really my only complaint is that they need to stop releasing these banger characters so close to each other. I gotta prepare for Cartethyia this week. then Lupa next phase, then Chisa whenever she comes out. Man, I'm glad Kura Games made this game into a really fun experience that really deserves a second chance from those like me that didn't fully enjoy its initial launch version. And for those that are still on the fence for it, yeah, just don't make fun of Carlotta's height. That will do it for me for today. Make sure to like and subscribe, as my goal is to get to 500 subs by the end of the month. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you guys for watching.